the humans. The link. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I actually need this cord. Need this cord. Put it in. Plug it into the thing. Put it over here. Alert my people. Put it over here. Ooh. I need to post it gaming. Hi, Lizzie. You beat the prompt. You beat me telling people. Look at you. Look at you. 5 months. 5 months of pause emote supremacy. Did you see your new toys? I've added new things. We've got an ad in 4 minutes. We're going to let people come in. I'm going to go into studio mode. Ooh la la. So I can actually get MEGABONK set up because I have no idea if this is going to be full screen or what off the top. So, and baby be napping right behind me. So give me a sec to set up the rest of the way. And whilst I do that, oh, that's right. That's right. In theory, individual events include free squares. Subscribers only. No. Oh, I do have some stuff I gotta turn on. Well, look at that. We're going to include general events. Okay. 18. Select at least 7 more. Oh, no. Okay, well, on the upside, I figure out how to set it up. On the downside, I don't know enough about MEGABONK to actually start a bingo. Okay, that's fine. That's something I'm playing with later. We have stream bounties set up, and I do have some things to... Why is my... Excuse me. Oh, because it's backwards. That's confusing. Why is it like that? When did that happen? Okay, whatever. I thought it was the other way around. I'm like, wait, I'm on the wrong screen. MEGABONK. Loading. Photosensitivity warning. This game may blow your brains out. Alright. Settings. We are borderless full screen. My beloved. Perfect. I am so happy about that anytime it happens. MEGABONK. Okay. Is it showing up? It is showing up. Perfect. I can now turn off studio mode. That's all I needed. How we doing, Solar? How is life treating you? We do have our incoming ad break to start at the 2-minute marker, but this lets me say hi to everybody. Input delay? Okay, camera shake. Farting mode. Okay, language. Oh my. We got lots of stuff we can play with as we go, huh? Alright. Just doing that pixels high def look that a lot of things are doing now, like your Valheim. Fine. Crosshair stuff. I guess keep it all default for now. Gonna keep it all default. Advanced settings on. Oh, wow. Video. Resolution is fine for now. Target monitor is fine for now. Full screen window. Good. VSync always, please. FOV, we'll just play with it as it is to start. Everything on default just to see, and if we don't like it or it runs like crap, we'll change it. Hi, Ina. Liz is helping. I don't know what you did to help. Wait, how goes Liz mod time? Oh. Right, I modded Liz so she could help with the bingo. And that way I'd have a mod when I'm busy and Kaz is napping, for example, right now. So, controls, sensitivity, lock smoothing, inverted, blah, 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 hold crouch, hold aim, we'll see. We got keyboard specifically. Oh no, we got Xbox. Jump, interact, slide. Okay, aim. We'll try gamepad to start. Pause on disconnect, please. My controller's poopy poop poop. Are we in ads now? Is it adding? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Not ads at the moment. Okay. Well, maybe it's doing whatever it wants right now. Pause on controller, disconnect, use spacebar to confirm, use horizontal. I'm really just scrolling through setup. Master volume. Crank it up. I want to hear shit. Music, yes. Listen, I appreciate that not every game wants its music loud as hell. I do. I want to hear the music, okay? What's that looking like? Oh, right. We have to actually switch over. So, ad break in progress. Never mind. We got it now. It says it in my OBS. Oh, it says it over there too. Okay. I got it. I got it. I got it. Yeah. Okay. While everyone's in ads, I'll go ahead and do this. Desktop audio off, game capture on. That's not unreasonable. I do have it turned down a bit. What do we think? We looking good? I think we're looking pretty good. I'll leave it there for now. I'll leave it there. In the yellow barely. I'm in the yellow barely. I might need to turn down the master volume a little bit just to be safe. Like that? How's that look? That's pretty good. I should be louder than that. Okay. Yeah, Spritz, I have things that pop up to tell me what the ad break is running. So it may not be universally timed for everyone, but there's a 1.5-minute window. We are still in it for 5 seconds for someone might be in an ad. I'll be like, hey, everyone's back. Yeah, no. Hey. I get like a penny every time we run those. That's a penny, dudes. I'm so... Moldy Cheese, my beloved. I didn't know Liz made this game. Alright, so we've got... I'm using gamepad for now. We'll see how it goes. I've never played. I don't know if I'm going to regret this. I see stuff wiggling in the background. It'll be great. Hello. What's up, Merlin? If we had bingo, that'd be a mark right there. That'd be a mark right there. Okay, bye. Oh my gosh, I can be a fox. Quick on his feet and unnaturally lucky, unlike me. Fireballs, more RNG, different skins. Okay. I hope the animation's supposed to be a little jerky, because otherwise I'm a little upset at my frame rate. Sir Oofy. Slow? Merlin? Go. A green place full of trees, birds, and great vibes. Also, everything will try to kill you. Okay. Merlin, you have food. I just looked. I just did your litter box. You should have everything you want, besides the fact that you're not actively getting attention. I just started, honey. Yes, rub your head on the desk. You absolute... Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We're doomed if I ever get a kitty cam. That's going to be all this stupid stream is. Just here's my cat. Look at my cat. He wants attention. He's a cat. All right, let's see how this goes. MEGABONK. I know barely anything because everyone said I'd like it, and the trailer was kind of fun when I watched it ages ago. Time to cook. Okay. Oh, all right. We shoot like Vampire Survivors. I don't have to do shit. I just run around. Oh, I can break things. Ooh. Lightning is a fan. I'm a fan of lightning. Orbit is always fun. But staff and staff seems like I don't have a B cam. That's a thing on my list for eventually. I was gonna set up an Inoki, but Inoki is like in betwixt things. Well, I kind of have to do that, don't I? Gym sauce. Definitely just gym sauce. Onion. Okay. Stonks. That is microwave. Use microwave. Need more rare items. I see? Assuming I can go down to where all the chests and stuff are. Okay. Bounces, you say? Okay, start bouncing for me. I'm just gonna keep running around grabbing shit. I can hop. I can hop, and occasionally I even start to run. Slide. Oh, slide does. I'm seeing why people compare this to rain. I see a present. You got the map. You're running around. What's this thing? Okay. I don't know how hidden that was, but I now wear a hat. Lightning staff keeps getting uncommon upgrades, and we're just going to keep doing that until it tells me no. Wait, is that a bush I grab? It has an outline. What are you? You're nothing. Oh, my tits. Jump higher and further. Okay. Spend money to open thing. Gotcha. More gym sauce. I'm so sauced. I've never seen anyone as sauced as me. All I don't know is how I ran. I know there was more chests over by the start. What's this thing? Size, I could just be bigger. Get more money. Attack more often. I mean, duh. Okay, let's go back towards the start, because the start had a bunch of shit that I hadn't grabbed yet. That's yellow. That's the map loops. I doubt it. Okay, there's all this stuff over here. We got Skelemans. Skelemans. Gotta have Skelemans in your video games. Like the law or something, so I like can fall off things. I don't know if this fall down. Fire staff upgrade. Ooh, yes please. More pew-pews. I gotta have more pew-pews. Pew-pew. Heart. Okay. There's a box. Oh, that's probably good. Jump a lot. I need to jump a lot. Oh, there's a map. Consult the Moai. Clicking down, send out an electric shock to nearby enemies. Increase evasion. Increase. I mean, luck's my whole thing, supposedly, right? Charge Shrine. Crit chance. Gain an awkward amount of jumps. Get more money. I mean, how about this? Okay. Yes, my love. Yeah, he's over there being pissy. He is not outside. He's just being pissy as he runs around the house wanting more and more attention. I can't afford any boxes. This makes me sad? Yes. More lightning. More lightning. Oh, sliding downhill is good, though? Sliding downhill is very good. I avoided damage for 2 minutes, and then I immediately took damage. You're welcome, achievement list. Faster attack speed, you say? More money. Well, experience. No, I'm incredibly confused. Find the boss pool. Let's see. But I'm busy. Killing things. For fun. And profit. Need more variety. Okay, how many I need? I don't know what it does. Fine. Is that another boombox? Bitches, I love a boombox. Oats. Yo. Burger. Knockback, agility. I mean, I could be faster. I do like fast. Yes. Yes. I'm so fast. Hey, stop hitting me. I want to play music. I just want to play music. I just want to play music. Don't you understand? Or fireballs. I'm going to die. Don't worry about it. The music's getting all shitty. Big bonk. Promise? Shield. 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 Attack. Blink. Blink. Hey, there's a mullet. What's the pink box? Oh, it's open. It's an open box that I didn't get to. More. Golden Skeleman. You don't feel so good. Oh, it's because he's the fox. I mean, does anyone clear their first round on one of these things normal? Stonks. Oh. More fire. Sarah, go do something important. No, you don't understand. More fire. There's a big red arrow. That big red arrow is probably important. But there's all this other stuff. And I'm me, and I like stuff. And her movement speed very fast. Yes. Yes. I can open our box. Crap, that's what fucking sure. Sure. Love money. Okay, we're going the opposite of the direction I want me to because there's stuff over here and I want to see what it does. Increase evasion. That might actually start being helpful, so we'll do that. It did actually, in fact, take a hit. Shake sus bush. The bush is alive. The bush is alive. The bush is a sniper. I'm playing Fortnite. Don't worry, I know how to distract him. With my hot jams, I'll stop the bush from having any issues. Shoot me through the wall, loser. Armor. Hurt me less, fool. I don't need to be faster. That makes me sad. I am quite fast. I think I would like more murder. But with the bush guy in it, that's being kind of a problem. Hey, look, a nuke. Which guy didn't like the nuke? What else we got? What else we got? What else we got? There's boxes. Beacon. Is that like permanent? Or is this like Risk of Rain style where I'm going through a sequence of things and I have a time limit and I'm really fucking up right now? Oopsie. Our attack speed always good. I guess I should head towards the big marker then at some point, eh? Yeah. Ah, my hits. Projectile bounces. Dead. I got greedy. You dead. Maybe him skill issue. It is him skill issue. I don't know shit. I got 3 achievements. 3 unlocks, 8 silver. Yeah. New button. Angry cat. What are you doing? What's the matter with you? Hi. What's wrong? You're gonna make me do like pet the cat streams. Is the aura good? Is the aura seductive? Merlin. Merlin Arthur. What? So fussy. Your brother's right there. Same with your mother. You just want attention. What do we got? Leave a trail of fire. Classic. Sword. Zap. Flame. Bone. Bow. Certainty. I don't have enough silver. Okay. Well, it gives me golds and shit, so that's good. So, microwaves right there, that's nice. Kill a bunch of skeletons, get damage tone to level 7, buy the aura. Okay, that's not bad, man. Just buy a fucking gun. Ogre. I guess we'll try Sir Uthi. Sir? Okay, I gotta see what this cat wants. Give me a sec. Kill me. Voice. Voice. Just look for your brother. He's down. Literally just decided I'm busy, he wants attention. Supreme cat behavior. Right, let's try Ufi. Gotta try each one at least once, right? It's the rules. Here we go. Confirm. We learned a little. I'm a dude. A dude with a sword. I'm the cook. Key. Okay. Shit I hate in Vampire Stars. Okay, that was just all health. Alright, we'll save that for me. Is this everyone has their own theme song kind of thing? Or? Bigger sword. Okay, size can be done that. Alright, I need to test this. Fall damage, yes or no? Yep, okay. Not too bad. Knockback seems like it'd be good for him. Bigger sword, more damage. Just a 9. I hate that shit, man. They're gonna be a problem. Yo, I don't think Goofy's gonna be my guy. Melee with these things? What do I do about that? Oh boy, luck. That's really gonna help me. I need a way to hurt things that aren't in my face. Oh yeah, that's what we want. Please give me anything. It's good to get early, I guess. I don't think I want to summon the challenge right now. I think that's a bad idea. I'm struggling with the basic. I don't think we're ready for that at this point. I think the rocks might help. I think they need some improvement. I can be bigger or last longer. It's about how you use it, right, ladies? The sword's big enough to actually hit these things, so I don't... Does this actually swing all around me a little bit? I'm just... You see it? It's so slow, it gets hurt so easy. These things are so everywhere, it's so annoying. I would love that chest. I'd love that health. I would love to not suck. Oh, you know what? Yes, please. More chonkers. Chunk them. I only get 2 weapons. Oh, okay. Yeah, I might need that. Oh. Away I go, man. Need that. Why is the Skeleman blue? I'm flying. Aren't you jealous? Yeah, please. By all means. Let's see what happens. It's this giant pig. At least I've burnt through a lot of these. There we go. An opportunity to do some damage. More chonker, more regen, more just damage. I need anything with damage here. Yay! Here I go. Oh, I don't like Oompy. I don't like Oompy at all. I don't know if I just had terrible luck. I am slow as shit. This is not gone well. He is not my lifesteal. Now you're speaking my language. I was enjoying it more when I wasn't oompy. Not my guy. Ouch. Oh gosh. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna give him another chance. This went so much better. This is more naturally my thing. Being able to keep your distance and use projectiles. I think if I got the right thing for him, it would go better. I think I'm just... Well, how do I say this? Something dark side. Nailed it. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. I'm just a man with a sword. A man with a sword doing his best. At least I start right by one of these. That's nice. Okay, thorns? With this slow-ass dude? That might be better. Maybe I should be going for these early. Maybe that's my secret. Maybe that's what I need to do. Of course, I got a bunch of them right out the gate. Better sword, yes. Let's actually, like, focus here. Evasion. You know, he needs all the help he can get. Damage? Absolutely. Hello. Bling. Let the follow again just on stinking OBS because it doesn't know what it's doing with life anymore. It's confused itself. Early XP gain. Okay, this already feels a little better. And we're gonna go for this other shrine before those dickheads show up and ruin my life. You know the ones. The exploded dudes. More damage. Oh, I saw a bow and arrow. That would have been smart. I should have looked for more than half a second. Okay, whatever. Yeah, projectiles were my weakness. I need a way to take care of these guys that show up. Movement speed, elite spawns, jump height. I think movement speed will do me some good because he's slow. And I need everything I can get. Shield. Yo, hello. Damage. Epic damage. Now I've got his shield, so I'm gonna go to this other one. Thanks for the help. Higher attack speed. Yes, please. Alright. Well, I was reading what the guy said. It would mean more to me if I had gotten far enough to know anything. This is my third run. Greed Shrine? Oh, don't know about that. Am I greedy? I mean, yes. Am I ready to be greedy on purpose? I wish I could get out of that attack range. There's a Moai head. There's a Moai head. Let's go to the Moai head. He slides on his sword. Never mind. Oompy rules. +1 projectile count for all weapons. Looks away in quiet disapproval. I need all the help I can get. Ow, my tits. Here's the gold skeleton, man. Problem is, these guys are here and I can't do much with them around. What do you got? Bees? How was there not bees this whole time? Did I anger the bee? There's a lot of those greed tokens around. I'm not scared of the bees. They don't explode. Well, we're just going big on sword, I guess. You know what? If it works. It's getting them away from me. Get me towards... Aww. Ooh. Leaves a trail of... You know what? Fine, we'll try it. Now you're speaking my language. Hit it. What's it do? What's greed do? Makes it harder. You know what? I deserve that. Oh, if I can make this bigger, though. You get what I'm saying? Unstable transfusion. I don't know what that means. Alright. Oop, box. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Backpack. Okay. 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 Hold up. Shady Guy's Shop. I don't have any of that. Okay. Big Pig's back. Crit chance sheet. Excuse me. Armor, I know, is a big deal with this guy. Does shield count as armor? I'm gonna go with E-Regen because he's all about ouch my face. I'm not gonna get too greedy right now. I think we're managing. Yes, do that while he's frozen in time. Oh, look at that. We're actually doing damage to him this time. What if I stand right here? What if I get him in the fire? Oh, he's alive. And I'm slow again. Oh, there we go. Why are you running? Okay. Yeah, make it better. Now, if I can make it bigger, I want area, I want size, right? Beefy Rain. Get more HP, get more ouch. Okay. I don't know why there weren't bees any other run so far, but you know what? I don't mind. I don't mind the bees. The bees aren't bothering me. There's one enemy type that's bothering me. And it's not the bees. Well, ooh. Oh, that was almost kind of funny. Stay away from me. I spit fire when I walk. Is it a swarm of bees? Because that would be fitting. No, it's gone. Okay, that's fine. You know what? I'm actually, like, spec'd pretty well for this at this point. More damage, you say? Oh, no. Well, I'm up here now. I'm fast and I spit death. I'm fast and I spit death. More luck, more regen, shield. Sure. What's shield do? I don't know. It looks like it's on top of HP. Good old standard shield. Okay. Yes, please. More size is what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Now look at that. Now there's some overlap. It makes some sense. I run circles around this, and now you're on fire. Power up multiplier. That power ups themselves are stronger. General damage. Let's just do general damage for now, because I'm a basic bitch who's still learning the basics of being a bitch. Ooh. More damage. More sword. Gotta keep my damage up, right? Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. I think the bees just exploded. What does projectile count do with Flamewalker? Okay. Oh, it's spawn rate. Oh, it's spawn rate. Okay. Yo, you know what? I got no issues with that. I got no issues with that. That's awesome. That's great for me. More bigger sword. More bigger sword, not so close to nets. That's called damage boosting? Ooh, big mans. Okay. Strong damage. Yes. Yes. You should die. Well, never mind, I died. I'm down the hole. With you. I want this box. I want this box. I want this box now. Open the box. Okay. Increase evasion. Okay. Mr. B, Mr. B, Mr. B, you're dead. That's from above. More sword. More regen. I think more sword. Map. Hey, look at that. Oh, hey, we have a target. I should probably go to that. Let's go. Let's actually see if I can get somewhere. I'm managing this oddly well, so let's see what happens. Oop, there's the thing. You think you're special? You're not special. Just because you got a crown? You think you're special just because you got a crown? You ain't nothing. You're big. So are all your friends, so... Here, step in my flames. Thank you. That'll thin you out. think I just experienced that dopamine stuff I was talking about. Alright, here we go. It's real. Dopamine real. Jump height, max it. Wait. We have a thing that does more when we get max HP. Got it. Got it, got it, got it. Okay, go over here with this one. What's this one do? There's the microwave. I still don't know what to do with the microwave. But hey, we're starting. We're getting somewhere. We're destroying. What's this one? I don't know. I need to stay here. Armor. That's specifically Oopie needs armor for something. Oopie needs to absorb damage with armor. Microwave. Choose an item to clone. Uses a random item of the same tier. This is HP regen. This is XP. I don't know if I want to do that, actually. But okay. Duly noted. Another one of these right by the boss gate, so we gotta do it. Alright. Gain lifesteal? With this fucking setup? Yes. Increase damage by 10. Doesn't matter if I do. Damage tome. Flamewalker lasts longer. But more damage, but longer levels of death. Okay, we're gonna open some shit. I got an achievement thing. I get more money now. Here's this guy again. Can I afford anything from him now? Probably not, since I spent all my money. Oh, never mind. 2% chance to spawn a Borger. You know what? Sure. Thanks, idiot. Well, I'm sure that was the right choice. More damage base, more knock. Yeah. Let's make sure our damage stays up. We don't want to get completely overplayed. Powered over. Tasty Borger. Delicious. Nuke. Probably should have saved that when I spawned the guy, but whatever. I'm assuming he spawns a guy. I'm seeing the code. This eye is also good, because the closer I get to you, the more danger I'm in. There's a lot of elite little goblin men. I'm walking in circles around this thing I really need to get to. Slurp gloves. Okay. Cast blood magic upon hitting an enemy, damaging nearby enemies, and healing you. Fuck yeah! I'll slurp you up. And I get burgers? I'm a gluttonous little man. Let's go. Boss spawn. What do we got? We got 2 minutes. Little bark. Good thing I leave a wake of fire everywhere. Oh my god. No! I'm in a hole. But I need to kill little bark. I still don't know what happens if I hit 0, but I'm assuming bad. Oh no, we got multiple bad things. We got multiple bad things. We are stacking bad things. I don't suppose a blue skeleton wants to come make my day again, does it? He's gonna hurt. I mean, it's still a record run no matter what, so I'm not too mad. Yeah, stand in my flames, you fucking imbecile. Thank you. Does this guy want to do it, or does he want to get stuck in a tree? Oh, you need more slurp? Gain plus 2% for every 1% armor, also gain 10%. Okay, yeah. Bigger flame walker, longer duration, yeah. Let's be real, the ability to run away and do damage is a great combo. We love that in our house. Money time. Borger. The boys are now plate fighting. So if you hear cats shrieking. Yo, I did it. Ooh, more sword projectile. I mean, that's funny. More flame walker. It's also good. Okay, so how do I leave before this really murders my ass? There's a green... Someday I'll be free of menus. I have 6 seconds. I wouldn't celebrate just yet. I don't know what's about to happen. Earn 50% more gold. Okay. Final Swarm. They're little dudes. Wait, they give extra money. Oh, so it's not Risk of Rainstorm where we go to the next area. It's just the guys are a spawn and good luck asshole. Okay. Okay, so if I do this, like a jerk. So we have a map, right? Like, I haven't been everywhere. There's a time freeze out there. We can look around. We can see what we get. They don't drop money. Oh, yeah, they do. I got money. Hold up. Moldy cheese. More fire or bigger sword? Oh, well, I am running like a bitch, but there's a lot of them, so we're gonna do this. You know what? Fuck you. What do I got to lose now? We're in endgame. Let's go. Let's spawn nonsense. Let's see what happens if I just... Oh, no, they're black now. Sure. They are much faster than me, and that's going to be an issue. I'm a slow little baby. Hey, there's the armor for Sir Umphy, so I got somewhere with that. I cannot get to a burger. I cannot get up this hill. He's too slow. You did. I got paid. How'd I do, babes? Is that better? If I redeemed Umphy? Oh. Ghost. Quantity tone. Now you're speaking my language. Quantity tone. Okay, we have unlocked Clank. I need to buy the revolver. Never mind. Need to kill 7,500 enemies, so buy the revolver. I can get the Aegis. I get the Aegis, and then I will be Rex. Xenoblade Rex, boy. Yes. Kill 7,500 enemies with Slutty Rocket? Excuse me? I want a Slutty Rocket. I can buy the aura. Now, listen, hear me out. That is, I have more things. And I'm sorry? I'm a whore for more things. That's not even a contest. That one wins. That gets my attention immediately. Items. Ghost. Don't know what it does yet. Hats. Cost money. Okay. So, I'm hearing some grip. No, I like the first one better. The grip. Okay. So, aura. Don't take any damage for 2 minutes. Sure. People keep talking about the aura. Damage enemies in the area around you. Oh, it's garlic. It's garlic. It's this, but better. Got it. Does this have synergies then? Like, do I need to worry about, like, these two stabs going to become one or something? I have 8 left. So I can't get the hat. I can't get the other weapon, but I can get the ghost. Using an interactable summons ghosts. Is that a good thing? Standing still heals you? That's useless to me. What is standing still? Me? I don't know. Doesn't sound real. 2 boss curse. Okay, we got a lot of goals eventually, but we'll get there. Alright. Alright. There we go. I'm sure it can happen. Alright, we're gonna give Fox another one, because we beat it with Umphy. He's rank 11. Okay. Of course, we can do tier 2. We have challenges? Oh no. You're a small boy with big dreams. You're a small boy with big dreams. Is my keyboard plugged in the wrong hole? I mean, is it the USB port or something on you? If you complete it, you get a permanent silver game. Okay. That's interesting. We're not going to do that yet. We're starting simple, okay? We're going to do tier 1 with our boy. We're going to try to beat it with him. We're going to see if I can get the hang of this. Dig in the meaty trumpet. I'm a soft spot for that crap. Not lie. Yeah, sliding downhill is huge. Getting uphill again is huge in a different way. Stronger fire staff. Got it. There's a Moai. We're gonna go crazy right out the gate. Alright, I'm learning. Assault the Moai. Slurp gloves. See, I don't know what future stages is. It says there's only one, so I don't think that's very useful here. But slurp gloves. Let me slurp. You know? And that's hard to argue with. I'm learning how to read a weird map. Luck for my lucky fox. Excellent. There's pot. Screw it, we're dual wielding stabs again. How can I not? I mean, look at the situation. I'm trying to look at the map. So, hey, B, big B. There's something over here. Is that Cthulhu? More lightning or more damage? More damage. Oh, there's several creepy statues. And a magnet? What? Boss curse. I guess that's what that thing went over. I'm not tier 2 yet. I mean, I've unlocked tier, of course. I unlocked tier 2. Trying something. Oh, I think it just brought everything to me. But I'm playing tier 1 with the fox. I'm trying to get the hang of things before I jump into something harder. Because I died with him last time. I don't think I want a boss curse just yet. Activate. You know what? I never did that last time. Should we activate the challenge? Got more projectiles. Screw it. Summon the challenge. Let's see what happens. That's right, I get stung by a bee, so I'm not paying attention. Shield is good. Shield helped a lot, but I only get 2 tomes. No, I didn't pick the tier right at the start. I'm starting with getting my bearings. I'm kind of a cautious player of most things. Sorry. I'll get more interesting as I go. Hopefully. I'm sorry. About to get exploded again. Quite a bit. Alright, we're over here now. Not all bad. More damage, more... Yeah. Oh, the projectile one was there, though. That would be smart. Better pickup range. You know what? I actually do want that. I'm having issues grabbing things. And I'm greedy. Now what, fools? Oh, you can fly. Shit. That's what. That's what now. Another challenge. What the hell is it? That's just some extra elites to deal with, right? You know what? Yeah, I will spawn something while the boss is here. I don't care. Oh, look. It's a bunch of goblins. Alright, I'm less scared of that now. DPS is not great. That is my concern. I'm trying to get better at prioritizing actually hurting things because that seems to be the biggest issue. For shield, uncommon level up to my fire staff seems important. Hello. That does work for that thing. Agility, size, just bigger. Should I just get bigger? Let's get bigger. 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 Hey, guess what? Delicious border. Which I might need, because I just got mobbed with bang. Bang. Just bang. Bounced around and banged. Sexually. Holy crap. Okay. Any size will matter. Sure. Probably not that big, but I'll take it. Just lean in the size. Ooh, more projectiles. That wins. Something I've been feeling the lack of. I'm frustrated by. Boulder. Yeah, but I can have bigger. It can be bigger. Does it matter with projectiles? Probably not. Does it make me laugh? That's the important. Shrine sick. Oh! Now we're getting somewhere. Lightning staff? Yes. Oh, there's me standing still. It's real. Gain damage. You got it. I need damage. Damage wins. Trying to get ready for the boss. It's about time for the boss, right? There's a first tone. Feeling fancy. Awesome, I'm not feeling that confident this time. And using interactable summons ghosts. Jump. Jump to hurt. Drop boulder on man. Oh, I wanted to drop boulder on man. You fools. Merchant. There's stuff going on here. Talk to the shady guy. Beefy ring. Doesn't really help me with this build. Oh yeah, it does. A little bit. Okay, but moldy cheese. You're welcome, asshole. Yes, please. Any interactors, so pots count. Liz was a good posture. How big Sarah get? Oh my goodness. I regret nothing. Up seems good. There's a Moai. If I could figure out how to get up, we'd be doing great. You can enjoy that context, this quote later. If only I could figure out how to get up. The reason the boss gate hasn't appeared, am I just not exploring enough? Am I being a bad girl? No burger bad girl? Hello. Go jumpies. Gain 5% shield. Like, seriously. I I'm assuming I need to go the opposite direction of where I'm headed. Alright. I gotta find the boss gate. I'm assuming it's just statically somewhere and I just have to find it. So it's time to go looking. Just size? I mean, I like size, but I also need progress. That's much further out. Am I going the right way? Ooh, Sarah's sense of direction being one of the things on the bingo card does not make me confident it's going to go well next. I'm trying. I did not realize I had to find it. For some reason I thought it was something that would spawn naturally, eventually. I don't know. Mostly because it just appeared at some point the last couple times. I feel like I just wandered towards it correctly. Oopsie. Crit chance, sure. Crit damage don't do no good if you're not doing crits. Well, I mean, fourth bit. Move speed. I broke 20 pots in a single run, and I purchased 25 check. I'm doing something. I'm sorry. I guess you could say it made you a bag. I don't know. Power gloves. 8% chance upon hitting an enemy to create a giant blast. Okay, cool. I'm not saying the boss gates won't be noticeable. I'm saying I'm trying to get to a position. There's only so many places it could even be at this point, right? That's where I'm at. Like, all right. Well, we're not getting into that. Sure. Oh, it's up there. We found it. Thing. Forbidden juice. I'm unlocked a few things this time. Now get even more ghosts. You're welcome for all the ghosts. Chunkam, you're not my priority. I'm running low on time, homie. I gotta get up there. I gotta get more size, though. I mean, that's the law. Okay, well, Chunkam's dead. How do I get up there? Do I just need more jumps and I have failed mission? Have I failed mission? Map. Oh, no. Wait, how do I get up there? Shit, I see it. I'm not happy. We're so fucked. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll do our best. We'll do our best. It may not go well. We're doing our best, okay? There's a page. I don't have the key. I had the key last run, I think. Yes, please. No key this run. No burger bad girl. Wait, is it down? Holy shit. This is out of the way. Alright. 1 minute. 1 minute to kill this fucking dude. And try not to get thrown off a cliff in the process. Good luck with that here. I don't think we're on pace, lads. Watching everyone fall because they don't know how to walk is pretty funny, though. Ooh, shield stuff. I get more fire staff. Damage, I think, is what's going to save me here. Burger. This is going to be tricksy. Well, goodbye. It was fun while it lasted. 62, almost 69. Sorry, Liz. And apparently everyone. I mean, supposedly, but I need him to get close enough to die. I guess he is getting hit. Oh, there he is. Okay, this has a chance. Okay, we got him. We actually got him. Oh, and there we go. Everyone wins. Everyone wins. You got your 69. You're welcome. Ooh, more damage, more bounces. I'm trying to think what's going to save me in this situation for any length of time. Oh. I may as well. Is there any bonus for holding on to gold? Like, I mean, besides you can buy things from the man. Credit card. Increased damage when opening a chest. That up, that wins. Damage for days. Spam everyone around me. Keep opening shit and spam and crap. That's the only way. That's the only way. Here comes the dark nightmare. Yeah, get stuck in the wall. Get stuck in the wall. Get stuck in the wall. Sure. No, I wanted the suckies. I have a viewer timer. Oh, you mean for... I don't know. Does it matter? I have more money. I have 4 more unlocks. I got forbidden juice. Welcome back from the ad break. I don't know if anyone has the power to snooze those but me. I am very busy, so sorry. Also, I don't get to choose how long it snoozes. It's a flat, like, 5-minute snooze, so. Thank you! I unlocked the key. I unlocked the XP tome. I unlocked tactical glasses. Okay. I'm sorry the public doesn't get that timer. I don't have to tell you. Quests. Clear Forest Tier 1 with Clank. Wait. Oh. Okay. Weapons. Block 5 or certain. This is the things I was already doing to unlock stuff. And now I get silver for doing it. Okay. Sure. I mean, I guess it makes it easier to see what your goals are. Okay. There's only one hat. Only one hat, guys. Okay, so I need to buy the revolver. I do not have the revolver. I still have not killed enough guys to unlock the revolver. Which is annoying because it keeps pointing me towards doing that. Beat a mini-boss, crit 100 times. I'm inclined to focus on these because I can carry a bunch of them. There's a chance to open just for free. Increase crit chance. Some more damage to enemies above 90%. That's interesting. And at 9, I can actually buy this. Okay. Alright. Well. How about this? How about this? How about this? How do I do this? There was a button for this, wasn't there? Chat, quick actions, preview. Oh, you're killing me. How'd you do the damn poll? I know there's a way to do poll. Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Have I forgotten how to do things? This is actually quite possible. I'm gonna have you guys pick which one I ran as. Am I crazy? Is there not a poll button? I could swear there was. Clip that, raid channel, manage goals, add marker, shield mode, stream together, chat, curious me, emote, chat, no, unity. Uh-oh, Sarah's insane. The You can only create polls if you're an affiliate or partner with Twitch. You can easily create polls using chat means using Stream Manager or Nightbot. Creating polls with chat. /poll. Okay. Poll. Hey, I did it! Go. I found it. You get 1 minute. Quick. Vote. 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 Apparently you can use your points to vote more than once if you're really bent on one. We're going to try tier 2. Pick who I'm doing it with. Let's go. Oh. I found the button. I didn't find the button. I looked it up. I just typed /poll. Whatever. Supposedly there might even be a button. I just didn't see it, so whatever. Oh, it's a war. It's a fight. I think Foxboy's got it, though. Looks like Foxboy's got it. You can spend your points, Spritzy. You can spend your points. It's 200 a vote. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Well... Oopie won. Oopie won, and I can't curse for 5 minutes. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Hold on, I gotta actually do the thing now. There it is. Start prediction. Where is it? Will Sarah break and swear? There we go, guys. It's a 5 minute. I'm gonna start it when the run starts. Someone got a timer. I'll set a timer on my end. Timer. I need to make a timer app. I just do. I just straight up do. One that I can just use. Okay, I've got a timer set on my end, okay? I need to arrange my windows slightly so I can see what I'm doing with that. Alright. Got our predictions in. Will I curse in the next 5? It looks like everyone's like, yeah, totes. Alright. You're probably right. Okay. Alright. Looks like it's Oomphy. Oofy, my bad. We're gonna try tier 2 of the forest. Ooh. Okay. Purple. Alright. Alright. We got a pretty even split, actually. Timer starts now. I cannot say a naughty. I almost said a naughty just for the joke. Oh. I'm in the wrong window. There we go. I just walked away and went to the bathroom. Alright, what do we got? We got stuff right over here. Save that. That seems very wise to just let be there for now. Yes. Become strong. Thorns. Yeah, actually, I think that's a good idea. Ooh! Don't mind if I do. Okay, so we actually have to explore. Let's explore. That's the thing I gotta remember. Jump higher. Not sure. Why not? See Oofy be uppy. That suits him. I don't know who did it. It doesn't tell me who did it. I mean, I could maybe find a way to look to see who did it. Given her cheekiness, I almost expect Liz. But, yeah. Okay, so, I don't know how I feel about the Aegis. That's mid. I can see the use of it. Is there a quick map button? No. Okay. I would like a quick map button. I'll have to see if there's something in there. Everything gets more projectiles? Yes, please. Oh, I have a shield. I can just ruin his life. I can just ruin his life. These all are bad. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the hot garbage. Everything's got. I wonder if it's a shader limit. Oh, it's pretty thick. Thick shaders are based on screen space, not world position. I could be wrong. That is also on the bingo thing. If I start analyzing how they do something in a game, trying to figure it out, that is one of the bingo things. Honestly, I played enough this. I think probably we could probably make a bingo. Maybe that'd be a fun thing after this run. We can tag team. We can have a community discussion what we would put on the bingo for this one. Yes, please. Those do got the points, to be fair. I think the ghosts help me out a lot, actually. The way I tend to just go for everything. Hello. More knockback, more gold. I guess the thing that takes hits from me should have the knockback. It's weird that I'm like kind of trying to take hits with it. Thunder mitts. Oh, I can't do the poo thing without. Oh, that entails swearing. That makes me so sad. I want to do it. I got a minute left. Then I can be naughty. I see it. I see two things. I see three things. We're going up here. Up here is the winner. Up here is the ticket. Jump more. I mean, everything's going knockback. I may as well go big on knockback, right? Like, hey, more sword. Yellow. What are you? Yellow. Power up, drop, project. Yes. Give me more everything. I love it. I want to unlock more weapon slots. Is what I want. I want to have more things because I'm a monster and I just love spawning infinite blood. I should probably not have a dude around who makes big shockwaves. I'm thinking I should have touched that. That is the 5 minutes up marker on my end. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's. Oh, that's gonna keep doing that till I hit the button, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Shut up.
I did it. I did it. I was strong. I don't think I did it, cuz. No one called me out. No one called me out. So... Sorry. Better luck next time, fuckers. Ha 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 ha. Alright. Alright. Ooh, that chest is golden. This is in a horrible spot. I see you down. Oh, they just walk up the wall? Wait, where'd he go? Did I kill Gold Boy? I don't know where. I think he ran off. Whatever. More sword. Bigger sword. This is just a free golden chest. Okay. What's that? You dirty little chest slut? You get a infinite power. Well, this is a horrible hole to be in, it seems. That's what she said. Gravity hacks. Alright. Let's check our map. Ooh. I see our next destination. Turning off the compass spinning with me might actually do me a ton of good. Genuinely. Like, I usually like it, but I me? Again, Sarah's sense of direction is very much a thing. More damage on the thing where if I touch you, you die. Okay. The boosh? That's the boosh. Okay, this way and to the left over here. Got it. I found it. I found what I want. Sorry. I barely touched the map. That's not great. I want to get to the fun purple place. I love purple. Bigger sword, more sword? Bigger sword, more sword? Bigger sword, more sword? Okay. Yeah. No? Alright. Up this hill is the ticket. This is what we want. Hey, there's that key I was looking for last time. Now if I see that cage, I can open it. Is that like a coffin situation? Is that what the other people is? I don't know. But, look at this. Womp. Might take movement speed if I see it. Yep. God said yes. I'm slow and I have a lot of map to go over still. Thorns? Yes, please. Seems really good with this setup, actually. What do you mean get crate open? What crate? Oh, the locked one? I have to find it. I haven't seen it this room. Yeah, I'll take more everything. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. Alright. Alright. There's the boss gate. Sure. I don't know if the crate shows up on the map, though, as part of the issue. Shrine of Soot. There's 2 Shrines of Soot. More damage is good. On my almost infinite sword. Should I do a boss curse? Should I try it? Sure. One boss curse. Why not? Let's make the boss slightly harder. I have so many shields. Holy crap. You sure? We have to open the gate. I don't know where the thing is, but we gotta open it after running a lot of time, so. Yeah. Ooh. Charge faster at shrines and get increased rewards. Alright. There's a blue boy. I cannot keep up with blue boy. He's just gone. My knockback is too strong. Duly noted. Alright, we gotta get back to the fort. We gotta get back to the fort. What am I doing? Being easily distractible by a million little things and infinite money. I love money. I love money. Hey, there's a revolver. And the axe. And the sword just got silly. Alright. Yo. I love money. Yo, what's up? I think that's gonna help. I think that's gonna help me out in a minute. Yeah. I don't think my sword's big enough. Spawn this boy. Oh, we get 2 of them. That's the curse. That's fine. Not as exciting as I want it to be. Yes! More, more, more! More everything, please! I don't do that much damage with the I have a ton of projectiles. I do like no damage. But I can make it bigger. And really, what's more important? Oh no! Oh no, there's so many! Okay. I don't think the Aegis, it's fun in a way, but it doesn't do much damage. The Shockwave is fine. Maybe I'm just not building it right. It feels like it has a lot of potential, but not the way I've done it, and not with who I'm playing as. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm going to do art tonight, baby. It wasn't my priority. My priority is I was going to do this for a bit and do some chores, because our house nasty. Or I did a cat box. Slurp gloves! How about just a... Alright. Sure. Genuinely, at this point, I'm not sure if we're going to be okay. It's fine. I got burgers, and that's what matters. Like, I'm hurting them, but I don't have that much time, and they're, So reaching the second stage of Plank, what I'm supposed to do, right? I guess? Well, we might be alright. We're pushing it. I would like damage. I mean, that's damage. It works, I guess. I'm gonna overdo it and get myself murder-weighted. That'll help. Oats. Alright, beat the boss. And I got the clapping of cheeks, so we're doing okay. More. And now I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I gotta get out. Oh no. I was off a clutch. Okay, I think I need to help my wife. So let me pause for a moment. And I'll be promptly back. AFK time done, but add in 2 minutes, so enjoy that. Alright. Yo, no, immediately? The vibes are off. Howard's Cloak. I think XP gain will do me more good long term. I think I know how we do the bingo on this. My only concern is it will straight up be high maintenance for a mod. Like, I don't think I'd do weapons. I think we'd do like items. Anytime we get a certain item that gets marked, or something, or certain benchmarks. I'm open to input. It will not be tonight. As much as I want to try it, I don't think it'll be tonight. Because it's getting to the point where I gotta make dinner, so I should probably be a good girl and feed my wife and myself. Oops, I didn't do that one. Alright, well, whatever. More damage to elites, that seems good. They keep happening. I haven't seen any challenge ones this round. You guys think I have enough Aegises? Like, just surrounded by a golden ring like frickin' Sonic the Hedgehog? There's a bingo. Slurp gloves? A second credit card. Increases chest price. I can't afford it. Increase luck, but increase price. But I have 2 credit cards. I don't know if there's a thing for getting more than 1 credit card, so I guess I'll do that. Just to see what happens, I suppose. I don't know if I even do threats, really. Oh, I do. I just saw one. Yeah, more sword. Ooh, more gold. Yeah, you know what? I spend gold like crazy. I may as well. More elites, but more guys. Let's just get more tanky. Let's do more damage. And after all, one of my things is literally just to get off new buttons, so no more damage would do. I think I see the red. Yeah. Oh, double challenges right next to each other? Don't mind if I do. That guy killed himself. You're welcome, world. Blue skeleton running. Ain't much I'm gonna be able to do about that. He's already gone. Dude, homeboy don't want to die. I have all the projectiles in the world, I just don't have much damage. Any upgrade to them would be huge, like in terms of offensive power. Massive if I get more damage out. But I got luck. And a nuke. Well, you know what? I'll take it. Hello? Oh! Malka's here. Hi, Malka! More damage on my Aegis is probably good. Just let the pig touch me for a while. Oh boy, more burger. Hey, gold chest, I can open that. So those don't show up different on the map. Those are the same thing. Okay, that's probably good. Okay, I'm not sure I'm happy about that, but okay. Well, Piggy doesn't want to die. What up with that? Why did Piggy not want to die? My ghosts are actually a pretty decent chunk, and so is my poison. So I do have things that do damage. They're just, abnormal. I'm gonna bonk. Boink, 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 boink. I only have a few of those, you know. That actually worked pretty well. Look at that. Okay, so I need to use my Aegis as well. He's dead. Poison will kill him. I like that it shows how much damage the poison will do. That's like more swords or more everything. More knockback. I don't know if I can. Alright. I need damage. It's just being cruel to me at this point about that. Okay, well, we're hopping. We're mad hoppies, because that's the only way we're hurting anybody. Sure, man. Boing. Oh boy, that's a pain in the butt. Okay. Mad suck, go. More damage from the Aegis, yes. More projectiles for everything. Upon hitting you, clap their cheeks or heart generates a lightning strike. I could get more of those. I do like clapping cheeks. Let's clap more cheeks, dudes. Clapping them cheeks, good. More ghosts. Another thing over here. Oh, we saw the boss portal. Okay, yeah. This is the end now in Tier 1, right? So I'm formulating my plan. Gain extra jumps. Do damage, please. Add to healing zone if I need it. So that's awesome. And my crit chances. Okay, that's helpful. That's good. More luck, more damage to elites. That might be helpful with a boss fight or something. Awesome. Okay, now you're being kind, and I'll take it. Thank you for your kindness. It's making me happy. Come on down here. I got time. We're good. More gold gain, more movement speed, more duration. Does duration help me with anything? Let's get some zoomies on this slow ass lad. Not that. Can't afford. Oh, can't afford. Oh, the bane of my existence. The reality of my bank account. Yeah, the sword AoE is getting absolutely hilarious. What if I just back you into a corner and ruin your life? Oh no, you'll just slide this way. Alright, cool. Imagine if it died though. Like imagine if I did enough damage to kill something. What is this? Bucktone? Oh. Okay. Rare drop. Koi Koi. Nice. I killed 1,000 skeletons. Excuse you. Why are you following me? No one gave you permission to follow me. What am I, popular? No. Go away. Get off me. You stink. You stink. Right. Are we ready? About as ready as we're gonna get, I think. Still haven't seen, well, I've been on half the map. That's probably why I haven't seen the thing. Whatever. Spawn that bitch. Let's go. What do we got this time? Same guy, Chad Mark. He's behind me and I'm hitting him with this stupid sword. Here, get bombed. Did you like that? Did you like that? Just a bunch of nonsense? Oh, hey, look at this. Means I have a healing zone right in front of the boss if I just hold still long enough. That's a funny joke. What's the banana? Touch the shiny banana. Banana ring. Oh, I got a banana. So, oh, I have a third weapon. I have a third tome. Life is good. Life is so good right now. I'm over here. I don't even care. We're doing this. Endure, and it's ours. We have a healing spot. Projectile count? Yeah, sure. Why not? More speed, more luck. Sure. Epic luck increase. More projectiles. Why not? Why not throw more You know what? Let's have 1,000,000 bananas. Let's become bananas. Bigger sword, more oh, damage wins. Oh, really? Oh my gosh. My damage sucks, but look at my stinking smack count here. Don't get off me. Take a nap. Take a nap. Just Donkey Kong up in here. More damage. Get off of that. I bonk you with my body. One could say MEGABONK you with my body. Yeah, that's an AoE. Yep, knock me into him. That's funny. I'll take the joke. Oh my gosh. We might be in trouble, but hey. Hey, there's another sword achievement, though. Hey, let's open a chest. No. And credit cards, man. Really racked up the debt. Just gonna go through his feet real quick with my fuck you button. Am I melting him? I don't feel like I'm melting him. I feel like I'm not gonna make time limit here and I'll be dealing with ghosts at the same time. Oh boy, more. Oh, damage though. Damage will help. Damage is kind of the. Actually, he's dying faster than the golem, isn't he? I'm also focusing on him more. It helps if he touches me. Whee! I'm up here. Running out of Aegises. Running out of Aegises. Gotta run away. Gotta eat a burger. Yummy burgers. Yeah, the timer's not gonna work out for me. I'm trying to get damage. That was the issue I've had this whole region. Is I haven't had damage. I've had projectile count for days. I've had no damage to back it up. And I just kept getting more count, and I knew I needed damage, and it just would not give it to me. So that is the issue we are going to be having here. And I'm doing what I can, but we're going to be doing this alongside the other shit at this rate. More Aegis, more Tome. I mean, that's all we got. Alright. Grab the shield. Absolutely grab the shield. Take it. Take it. We're just going to stand here. Got it. Completed Forest Tier 2. Got Robinette. Right on. Absolutely more damage, please. Oh, there was a nuke. I didn't even see it. You know, more sword? Why not? Who doesn't like a good million piles of sword? Alright, so that's nothing. We can't go through the gate. We're done with Tier 2. Okay, so now what we're doing... I think what I want to do is see if I can find that fucking... good luck me. We'll see. I'm promising nothing. Yeah, I got Robinette. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could locate where the crate might be. Maybe. No promises at all. Especially because this is about to get nasty. So, yeah, I think we're done. I tried, but we beat Tier 2. And I could hang out at the healing thing and really try to farm. No, I can't move. No, I do not get to move. But hey, look at that. Boom. That's a bit of a leap. And a bit of a good run there. Look at that. So we got the axe, the revolver, the armor tome, luck tome, calcium, boomerang, brass knuckles, and Robinette. Difficulty is cooked. Oh no. Alright. Oh, it's just showing my progress on things, huh? Okay. Well, we did those. Found the hidden banana. Okay. Kill a bunch of dudes with Sir Oofy. I haven't used the Shrine to Suck 8 times. Sorry, them sucked enough. Maybe next time. Alright. Cooldown tone would be good too. Die 10 times, halfway there. First doll, yeah. Find on graveyard? Find on graveyard. Not find a graveyard, find on graveyard. Okay. Oh, what do we got? We need this guy. No, I need the revolver. I need the revolver. Right? Means 14 on Clank. Character purchase, we got Clank. Okay, we've got Luck Tome, XP Tome, Armor Tome. Goofy likes that. Brass Knuckles. I love items. I prioritize items because they stack. Yeah, that's a good one to get. Okay. And then I have 13, so I can buy almost anything. I can get the Bone Man. I could get the Banana Ring, or the Axe, or a Tome. I am open to input. Well, Spritz says I should get calcium. Apparently he's like, you don't drink enough milk, loser. Or banana. Calcium or banana. He really wants me to get some potassium too, I guess. Is there a way I can afford 2 of anything? Not in my life. Okay, we get one thing. We get one toy. More weapons are fun, more characters are fun. Clank is fun, yep. Clank was kind of mandatory. Calcium's fun. I'm seeing a lot of people saying I should get calcium. Alright, we'll get calcium. Cool. An undead shredder who pulls off the sickest tricks. I regret nothing immediately. Alright. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Sake of argument. Oh, I can buy them here too. There's Robinette. She's just kind of vibing. Look at her vibe. This is an aesthetic. Like, Valheim kind of does it too, with like the hard pixel textures, but like modern poly counts and stuff. I don't know how I feel about that. I would hope he's rad. Look at him. Look at him. You're right. He's rad. I have no further questions. Throws bones. Speed builds up over time, but is had when you take damage. Ooh. Also gain damage based on speed. Oh, nice. Okay. Clank, revolver, fires multiple bullets. That's my style. Crit happens. Alright, so he's one we're required to beat the forest with to unlock something. I think the desert? Yeah. We need the desert, so to get the desert, we gotta do this with him. Fine. Did I unlock more challenges then? Kind of. Well, that's a relatively easy one. Or is that 12 minutes? Oh. That's for both stages. Okay. What the fuck, too? I like the vibe. I'm not gonna lie, I like the vibe. Alright. So here's where we're at. That Moe in the back looks kind of strange. Oh, do I have a friends list? Yo, friends list. Oh. Well. Step it up, Spritz. Oh, good. Judgment Live. Oh, I'm sorry. Is my head in the way? Is my head in the way? Hold on. I can fix that. I can fix that. Look, look, here. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Spritz. Spritz. I officially challenge you, slime boy. Bring it on, fool. Hey, I got past I got past in case too. Where's Ina? Doesn't Ina play? Okay, whatever. Oh no! I lost my legs in the war. No, bring it on. Bring it on, babes. It sounds fun. I have to call it for the night, though. I got to make my wife dinner and do dishes and such. And if I'm really feeling spicy, I might work on Rowlett's Calm later or something. Do some general Q stuff. This is fun. We'll do this again. This is good. I have some ideas for the bingo card for this one. Apparently, I have a minimum. I have to be able to fill out a bingo card. What a surprise. So my general stuff only has 18. I need 25. But that's fine. That's fine. I can make a set for this, I think. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Nice. Sarah says bonk. That'll be on there. It'll be good. It'll be good. Thank you, Ina, for buying it for me. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. I just have to go, like, be a freaking adult and stuff. Boo! Is that just scores for everyone, period? Yeah, it's kills. It's all pure kills, huh? I guess that makes sense. 1,000,000. Oh, I see you, Rye. I see the potential of the future, you bunny boy bitch. Okay. I would love skins at some point. How do you get skins? How do I get skins? Combs, challenges, skins. Kill a lot of dudes. Kill dudes quickly. Kill dudes really fist them. Fist them all night long. Okay. Oh. I'm good at talking. Okay. Dishes, dinner, feed my sad, hungry wife. Everyone say love to Kaz. She's being very patient about this. I will see you all next time, and it'll be, I don't know what. I think tomorrow on Pixel is animation day, so that's happening no matter what. Because it's the naughty stuff Twitch doesn't like. I work on the manor. Cassie's getting love as you should. Fun, good time. I'm gonna go make some shake and bake chicken. Be jealous, maybe some mac and cheese. Be more jealous? Autism dinner. We love us some autism dinner in this house. Okay. Bye!